Let me go across to our panelists. We have Lloyd Matthias, who's joining us, a business executive, as well as an independent director. Sandeep Anirudhan is also joining us, founder of Citizens Agenda for Bengaluru. I'm going to come to you across, Lloyd Matthias, so that you can explain to us, what do you think? Where do we stand when it comes to these huge scale spectacles that India really aspires to put up with these global stars descending? Do we have the talent, the potential, but perhaps not the infrastructure to support us, as Diljit had said?
Thanks, Meghna. I think I'm glad the discussion is happening a day after this mega show happened, the Coldplay show happened yesterday. I think on the positive side, I think it's a great testimony to the fact that we can host global shows with utmost peace and absolute, and that's a great tribute, I would say, to the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation and to the authorities in that state. Having said which, I think there is still some distance for us to go to make large musical concerts a pleasant experience. So I do believe that Diljit has a point, because normally the experience for people visiting concerts is not very pleasant. The rush, the handling of the traffic, the handling, girls getting pursued. I think there are a lot of issues that still security needs to be tightened. Yesterday was certainly great. It was certainly an exception. Second part is the infrastructure that goes with these large concerts. You have to recognize that Coldplay travels with an entire entourage and with all their equipment.
Absolutely.
All those 134,000 consumers waving at the song Yellow with LEDs, all that is part of Coldplay's entire experience. And as any global rock band, as Coldplay possibly is the largest in the world by far,
Absolutely.
they carry their own equipment along. Right? So this is not the infrastructure that belongs to India. Right? So all the special effects, the lighting, the lasers, all that was specially got by the band themselves. But yes, the fact that 134,000 enjoyed a spectacular concert over 5 hours and went off peacefully without any stampede, any issues, I think is a great tribute to the local administration. But I do believe we've got some way to go before we can become a default destination of some of the best concerts in the world.
Well, that's a very interesting point. Yes, in fact, Chris Martin himself, when he was thanking everyone, he talked about the huge entourage that they travel with as well, to ensure that technically they also are one of those groups which is known for the big spectacles they put up in their shows, technically very advanced when it comes to the concerts that they have held. Now, Sandeep Anirudhan, fair enough, Chris Play had his biggest ever concert. It just happened to be in India with Ahmedabad. But we did have the infrastructure. Unfortunately, some of the others, especially those in Bangalore, haven't been that lucky in the past. We've even had bands unable to reach the concert site because the traffic has been such in Bangalore in the past.
Meghna, when it comes to events like these, where you require a mobilization similar to a war footing effort, we are pretty good at it. 134,000 is nothing compared to the 45 lakh or so people attending the Kumbh Mela, which is the largest gathering in the world.
Fair enough.
But that has no bearing on our basic infrastructure, because our basic infrastructure we have to bear with on a daily basis, which hasn't improved at all. Now, the question is, these events, and even on a New Year night, nowadays nobody goes out to events because most likely people just end up getting stuck in traffic jams. They don't reach the venue. So it's not a pleasant experience getting anywhere for an event these days. Now, the question is, we'll have about lakhs of people coming here for an international event like this. A lot of foreigners come and they'll be exposed to the basic weakness in our infrastructure. They'll just see how backward we are. Now, I'm not much for actually impressing anyone, but what infrastructure do we deserve to give ourselves on a daily basis? Why is it broken? Why is it not improving? And what is the mechanism we have under our constitution, under our laws, under our administration that are required to improve it, which exists in other countries, which doesn't exist in our country?
But what is this infra that you're talking about, Sandeep? If you could just specify that.
Yeah. Well, basically, if you're looking at mobility, I think largely we're discussing mobility right now. And also, let's say, civic infrastructure in a city, the kind of stadiums, entertainment venues, and a lot of other things.
Right.
Now, to have things like this, you need to have a plan to build them. Where does the plan arise from? You need to have a planning authority in the city who's the planning authority in the city? If you read the constitution from 1992 onwards, the Nagar Palika Act has very clearly said a metropolitan planning committee is the planning authority for the city. And it has to build a master plan for the city. And why is it not being done in any of the cities in India? It just boggles my mind. 32 years. We are actually not following the constitution. And why is it very important? Because they look at Singapore. We say we have to match Singapore in infrastructure. You know, Singapore has a 50-year vision plan, 5-0. We don't have a 1-year vision plan. Singapore has a 15-year master plan.
Well, that's very interesting. Lord Matthias, is that where we are going wrong? We don't have a 50-year, forget about that. There are those who say not even a 1-year plan, where you have your own singers coming out and say that such bad infrastructure, we refuse to do that, because many have actually trolled Diljit Dosanjh, saying that it's not that the infrastructure is bad, your team, your tech teams, your entourage is bad, which is why you couldn't pull it off. Where do you stand on this, Lloyd Matthias? Who's to blame?
Well, I think it's completely unfortunate. I think Diljit Dosanjh made a very valid point about the larger quality of infrastructure in any venue. It's not just about the effects you bring when the artist comes on. It's the entire experience a viewer has right from the time he leaves his home, the ease of booking tickets, the ability to get to the venue, good hygiene, good security, good parking, the whole works. And I think Sandeep makes an absolutely valid point that the quality of our overall infrastructure makes it a complete nightmare. If despite all of that, you get into the ground and have a great experience like people did yesterday, full marks to them. And I said a lot of the special effects and the infra that came with the band is really what Coldplay needs to take credit for. That's not really a function of Indian government. I think we certainly have a long way to go to make the quality of our infrastructure. And I will certainly agree with Sandeep saying that our infrastructure has to also reflect what people go through on an everyday basis. We can't live our lives out of one occasional music concert. We still have to get up and go to work and get to your place of work. And I think we have a long way to go. So completely agree with him on that.
So we have the potential, we have the capability, but perhaps what we need is a larger vision for the future of perhaps 50 years. Yes, we have this massive stadium which is ready. We do have this massive stadium which can house 1.34 lakh people together. But do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the roads? Do we have the flights, the connectivity, and even places for all these tourists when they flock in for a real Swiftonomics, as that is a phenomenon I've heard for the first time today myself. But Swiftonomics to actually kick in for India, that's the scale of infrastructure we'll need. Thank you so much, Lloyd Matthias, as well as Sandeep Anirudhan. Unfortunately, gentlemen, we are out of time, but point well taken. Without a short break, don't go anywhere.